How dangerous would it be for Washington to launch some kind of missile attack and therefore the response then from Iran?
Well, there's a lot of potential for some quite dangerous scenarios, and nobody quite knows what the Americans would actually do because they have different options, and nobody knows what the result would be. Now, the Iranians have been quite vocal about saying they would respond swiftly and they would respond quite substantially. So it depends on what the Americans would do. They could strike military targets, so they could try to hit nuclear program sites, although it's unclear what that would be because they did bomb 3 of the major sites in June, and the Iranians haven't, there's no evidence they've tried to reconstitute the program since then. They could strike the ballistic missile program. It's believed that's what Israel wants to happen because those missiles are also pointed at Israel. It could strike leadership targets, so it could go after the Iran Revolutionary Guard targets. This is the group that has been accused of being behind the protest crackdown, although it's not clear whether that would really change anything. It could go after leadership targets. That would be regime change. Then things get very unclear because nobody knows what would happen if this regime would fall, or whether it would be replaced by, let's say, military leaders, or who would replace it. And in the worst case scenario, if there was a state collapse, if there was fragmentation, that would trigger greater instability in the region. That's what America's regional allies are really afraid of. It could actually, possibly also, the Americans take the Venezuela playbook in terms of using all this firepower, the naval forces that they have amassed in the region, to blockade Iran's oil exports, especially the sanctions-busting ships, and just try to grind the regime down that way. So there are various options, and we don't really know what's going to happen because it's still being considered. And frankly, we're not quite sure what the goal is here either, whether President Trump wants to weaken Iran militarily or whether he does actually want to topple the regime.